Okay, this is now the 5 minute tarot for the 5th of June, I was going to say July, 2017. And this is it may be part four, can't remember what number it is, but we're going to look at three more houses, the last three houses in the horoscope spread, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And so we begin with the 10th. The 10th, so if the fourth house shows the father, the 10th house, which is opposite the fourth, is the mother. So the question might want to know about the mother, because the horoscope spread's good for somebody who wants a lot of information, or who wants a little bit of information in a lot of different categories. They want to know about themselves, the husband, the children, their health, their work, their I don't know, their parents. You can look at all those, and you've got a card, at least one, that will give you information about all these different areas of life. So the 10th is the mother, as well as the career, and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, if you look at it, the 10th is the mother, then the card that we turn there will in some way describe the mother, the strengths and weaknesses. But again, if you remember, this is about a 3 month period, not the whole life. So the card that I got in the 10th position was the Nine of Swords upright. So the person says, tell me about my mother, and you turn that card and you get the Nine of Swords, and you say your mother's worried, or whatever you say from the Nine of Swords. She's awake in the middle of the night. The swords is hardship. She has a sense of conflict. It's awkward for her at the moment, and it's difficult. Then you can look to other houses and see the relationship between the two or more houses to get an idea of why the mother is upset, right? So you could, for instance, if the mother is the 10th, then the 11th is the 2nd, the 12th is the 3rd, the 1st is the 4th, and the 2nd is the 5th, right? If we start counting from the 10th house, then the 2nd house that we looked at, which was the 9 of Battens, is the mother's children, the 5th from the 10th. So maybe we'll look at the 9 of Battens, and here we had the person with the bandage around the head, and they need some rest, let's say, or they still have to be alert, but they're not that active at the moment. So the mother can be worried about the children. And so you begin to put together other cards that we've seen, but from the point of view of the mother, right? So the fourth, can't remember what the card was in the fourth. I can't remember, but that's the mother's husband, right? So maybe, or the mother's partnerships. So maybe you put something together from the card in the fourth house to describe the mother is maybe worried about the people that she's living with, or the person she's living with, depending on what card would show up in the fourth house. So that's the method of combining different houses. But the 10th can also represent career. So we get the 9 of Swords in the position or in the house of career. So the person may say, tell me what's happening at work. So you turn the 10th, the card there, and you get the 9 of Swords. And so the person, let's say, is worried about maybe losing their job, or they're not happy about what the company that they work for is going through. And so maybe you want to know, are they going to have to get a new job? People can ask. So you take the 10th up here as the first, the 11th is the second, the 12th is the third, the fourth, or rather the first is the fourth. And if you remember, we began with the Ace of Battens reversed. So if somebody wants, the fourth house is the final outcome, right? The condition at the end of life, or the final outcome. So you look and you see the 9 of Swords and the 10th for business, and the final outcome is the Ace of Battens reversed. So an ace is a new beginning, but it's upside down, so it means no new beginning. So it looks like the person may be worried about business, but they're not going to have to get a new job because the final outcome doesn't show a new beginning. So they're not going to have to find something new. So that's how, so we're looking at the Ace of Batons reversed in the first house, not from the point of view of the individual that you don't want to begin something new, you're maybe unmotivated, but we're looking at that same Ace of Batons reversed from the point of view of business and seeing it shows the final outcome. And so what might be a not very good card for a person, the Ace of Batons reversed, because probably we think that being willing to start new things is a good thing. But from the point of view of changing occupation, the reversed Ace of Batons is in the context of work or business. It's a good card to have because it shows, well, I would imagine the person wants to keep the job or doesn't want to have to look for something new. And they're not going to have to with the Ace of Batons reversed in the 4th from the 10th. So it may be, we talk about the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd, but that means it's the 3rd from the 1st. But any house can be the 3rd from a house 2 houses back, right? So you can consider. So the 12th that we're going to look at in a minute is how you talk about business, right? The 3rd is how you talk. The 6th is how the father talks. The 12th is how the mother talks. The 9th is how your husband or wife talks. The 5, 6, 7. The 7th is how your first child talks. Again, you get the idea of how you can relate different areas of life to each other. So that's something about the 10th. The 11th house is, the 11th shows your friends. So if you want to know what you know, what's happening with your friends, or am I going to, let's say you're moving to a new country, are you going to be able to meet people and have good friendships? And so the 11th shows your friends, and the card that I got was the Page of Pentacles reversed. So it looks like friendships don't go that well for a bit. And so it doesn't mean that you're not going to be happy, and that you're not going to meet people, but Pentacles is money, but it's also values. So it's an indication that the values, the types of people that you're going to come into contact with for the next 3 months are really not your type of people. They've got different values, different preferences, right? So they maybe want to go out and drink all night, and you want to have a deep conversation with somebody, 1 or 2 people, right? So there's a difference between maybe going in depth into a situation or staying on the surface. And that's a different value sense. So you would find that, I was just remembering how bored I used to be when I was 22, because I had this girlfriend called Anne, and we would go out with all her friends, and we would go to, can't remember the name of the bar it was called, on the outskirts of Glasgow, and every Friday night and Saturday night, it was the same every time. And nothing would happen from week to week, and these people would sit and find things to talk about, and I just had no idea what I was doing there. So that was a kind of, their values and my values sense were different. And so what they were happy doing, I was not happy doing. Okay, but also, if you think of it, the 11th is a 2nd from the 10th. So this could be the mother's value sense. So she's feeling upset or worried or anxious from the 9 of Swords because her values are represented by the Page of Pentacles reversed, that she is going through a changing period where she's changing from one set of values to another, and she hasn't quite figured out what she's going to replace her current values with, right? So maybe she is going to end up being a great reader, but at the moment she talks to people but doesn't get that much connection with them or that much satisfaction out of them. And maybe a year from now, she's going to be spending all the time reading. And so she'll have a different value sense and she'll be happier. But in the meantime, she doesn't know yet that she's going to become a reader. I don't mean a tarot reader, I mean a reader of books. So that's another way of looking at why is it that somebody is represented by a card that shows anxiety or worry or difficulty or problems or something. You can look to the other houses that make sense to get an idea of why this person is experiencing difficulties in that area, or in that area of life, or why they themselves are experiencing difficulties. So the 11th is friends, as well as hopes and aspirations. So what you want, what you're looking for, is shown by the 11th house. And so with the questioner was the Ace of Batons reversed. They're not that motivated. Why not? Partly because the Page of Pentacles is reversed in the 11th house. They're not sure about what it is that they want. So you could advise them. You could suggest that they think about what it is that they want to do and what they care about, and make a list of what they care about, and then implement something or things that are of value and importance to them. Also pages, I was thinking about this as I turned the card. Pages represent young people, and adults are always telling children what to do, and pages can be children, right? So maybe you say to the person with the Page of Pentacles reversed in the 11th house, you don't have to wait for other people to tell you what to do, right? You're not you're not going to say to them you're not a child, but you maybe make the point that it's okay for them to decide what it is that they want to do. And you're thinking, parents are always telling their children what to do, but it's at a certain point the child grows up, but they maybe don't take a grown-up state of mind with them through the years. So you need to remind people that it's okay for you to decide what you actually want. And just because what you want isn't the same as what other people want, that's okay. And then the 12th house is your karma. So it's lessons you have to learn in this lifetime, and it's mistakes you make that get you into trouble. Because the 12th is also the house of imprisonment. Not that you're going to go to jail, but it's it shows, in some cases, people are going to go to jail, but probably not. But it shows the kinds of mistakes or behavior that gets you into trouble in one way or another. So the card that I got for this one was the Six of Pentacles reversed. So maybe you say to the person, you can be too generous. You can give your money to people who don't appreciate it, who waste it and come back for more, and you feel you have to help them, so you give them more, and they take it away and they waste it, and then they come back for more. So watch out for people taking advantage of you. It doesn't work. It's not good. It's not a good habit, not a good practice in the long run. And things like that. Okay, so I'm thinking of the time. But those are the 12, that's now the 10th, 11th, and 12th houses. So next time, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll probably do something about all 12 together, and maybe do a little bit of a recap, or maybe the next step. Maybe I'll do the next step that you do after you've been around the horoscope or the houses once. That's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.